So Susan Hayes is actually the founder of Pharmacy Outcome Specialist. She has over 35 years experience in the healthcare consulting and management industry. She's the founder of the company, as I mentioned, and is responsible for the strategic direction of the firm and specific sales, proposals, the products, and the pricing development. Susan is the lead project manager for the firm's clients, which included Health Plus before they rolled up to HAB, Kinetic Coalition of Taft-Hartley plans, the Smart Union, and many others. I know she's consulted with a few of the Fortune 2000. In many years in the pharmacy benefit industry, Susan has developed a broad understanding of the marketplace, which is pretty impressive given the complexities to it. Services offered by the pharmacy manager, she's able to pick those apart, as well as the pricing methodology. And what I thought is very interesting, I don't know if any of you looked into her biographical background, but her entire undergrad, master's, and PhD work is in criminology. And I thought it was interesting that she's now focusing on the pharmacy industry, but I will say that they're very closely aligned. So she has her BS in criminology from Northeastern Illinois University, master's degree in criminology from Boston Metropolitan College. She's currently enrolled in the doctoral program in criminology for the Center for Counter Fraud Studies at the University of Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. And she's also a registered pharmacy technician in the state of Illinois. So please help me welcome Susan Hayes.
Good morning. We do have an agenda to go through. I will hopefully get through this, but I wanted to ask you, since I, maybe have consulted to a few of you, but really haven't talked to all of you, how many of you carve in your pharmacy benefit? In other words, keep it with your insurance medical provider. So most of you. Any carved out, transparent? So no transparent. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we're going to have a very lively, interesting discussion this morning. So what we're going to be talking about is kind of an overview of prescription drug programs, what you can maybe do from a financial plan design and administrative perspective. And then I want to spend probably the last half of my presentation on specialty drugs, because it really is the train that's coming at you very quickly and very expensive. Going to be in a very expensive process. So I put this up because if any of you are intimidated by the prescription drug industry, you have a good reason to be. This is an overview of the prescription drug industry by someone, Patricia Danton, who has a PhD in human resources. She's from the Wharton School of Business, and she laid out kind of the overview of the industry, and it is very, very complex. Now, this is not for the weak of heart if you want to manage your prescription drug program. Certainly you don't have to get a PhD in human resources, but you really do have to kind of understand all the moving parts associated with the prescription drug industry. We have, what is it, over 300 million consumers in the United States. We have 65,000 pharmacies. We have 3 major wholesalers and probably dozens of smaller wholesalers across the United States. We have, last count, I think 7,000 or 8,000 health plans on the Affordable Care Exchange, and there's obviously many more health plans that are private. We have 3 dominant PBMs in the industry, but we have dozens and probably about 80 to 100 PBMs working in the United States today, and we have about 80 to 100 pharmaceutical manufacturers, and all of these numbers, probably by the time I finish this presentation, will have some consolidation, or somebody will have acquired somebody in our industry. So it seems like every day there's a news story that these major players are changing, and now you've got partners suing each other. Anthem is suing Express Scripts for $3 billion on a $14 billion spend. So every day, this partnerships and relationships in the industry become unraveled, or they become knitted together. So it's a very dynamic industry and very complex. So I just want you to, if you feel intimidated by the industry, you should be, because it is complex. Today, I'm going to hopefully break down a little bit of that mystery for you. So as I mentioned when I opened up, how many of you are carved in, carved out, have passed through, or are through a purchasing group? I want to kind of break down what that means. So a traditional PBM that is carved in is probably where most of you raised your hands. So this is where your insurance carrier or insurance administrator is providing you the pharmacy benefit in a fully packaged arrangement. In other words, you're not taking any initiative on your own to find your own PBM, pharmacy benefit manager. Someone did at a presentation a couple of weeks ago asked me what a PBM is. It is a pharmacy benefit manager, so I want to make that clear, like Express Scripts, Caremark, Optum/Catamaran, so that's what a PBM is. So anyway, a traditional PBM, like I said, is one that's packaged with your medical carrier. There are some advantages to this type of relationship. Maybe integration of data, maybe, although all the PBMs are separate from the medical carrier, separate claim systems. They don't adjudicate on the same systems. So I doubt really if there is true integration, real time of data. Some of the concerns are that there's higher costs built in. There's some misaligned incentives, and we'll get into that. And no fee disclosure regarding spread pricing, and we'll definitely define spread pricing in this presentation. A traditional carved out arrangement means that there's still some spread pricing going on, but you have taken an active role in carving out the PBM from your medical benefit. And then a more progressive, if you will, arrangement would be a pass-through model where there is no spread pricing, and your PBM is charging you a fee for administering the program. This is really probably gives you the most latitude of any of the arrangements, gives you more control, and we'll definitely talk about that. And then the last is kind of a purchasing group where you go to a major coalition or a purchasing group. And there are some advantages to that. Obviously, if you're a couple hundred lives and you go to a purchasing group that's got 1 million lives or 500,000 lives, you're going to have a lot more clout. But you may not have as much clout within the purchasing group, and there may be some kickbacks or fees within the coalition that you're unaware of. So that's really kind of the landscape of how you go about purchasing a pharmacy benefit program. I talked about spread pricing on the on the earlier slide, and basically what spread pricing is undisclosed margin that PBMs take instead of charging you a fee. So how many of you have actually looked at your PBM contract, in the last year? Oh, 1 or 2 of you. Oh, that's frightening. So if you have looked at your contract, the 2 of you, and seen if your PBM is charging you a fee or not, if they are charging you a fee, chances are they are not taking spread pricing. If you see a big 0 for the fee, I can tell you Express Scripts, Caremark, Optum, and all the other PBMs are not going to Wall Street reporting that they're giving away their services. These are highly profitable companies. So they are charging you, you just don't know it. And how does that work? So spread pricing works this way. You walk into a pharmacy, you present a prescription. My illustration, which is factual, is you present an atorvastatin prescription. So atorvastatin is a drug that treats cholesterol, high cholesterol. It is a generic drug. And the pharmacy adjudicates that claim, and real time they get back a message saying, you're going to get $12 for this prescription, take $10 from the member, and we're going to send you a check for $2. And that's the pharmacy says, okay, fine, Mrs. Jones, here's your atorvastatin prescription. Now, every 2 weeks, the PBM will collect all the information to the pharmacy and reimburse the pharmacy the $2 along with all the other claims they have for that pharmacy. And at the end of 2 weeks, they re-adjudicate those claims and charge plan sponsors a different amount than what was reimbursed in the pharmacy. That's called spread pricing. In this exact example, they charged the plan sponsor $200 and took $188 profit on that script. And I know this because I actually walked into the pharmacy and audited that particular script, and I could see what the plan sponsor had been charged and what the pharmacy got reimbursed in the pharmacy's claim adjudication system. So this is a real example. Now, there's another way PBMs make money, and that's through rebates. So rebates are money from drug manufacturers And PBMs spend a lot of time contracting with drug manufacturers for rebates. And there's all kinds of rebates. And if you haven't looked at your contract, which 98% of you, if I'm calculating correctly, haven't, there's all kinds of different definitions within a PBM contract of what rebates you get and what rebates they keep. And you got to really look at the fine print. So rebates, like I said, there's all kinds of rebates. There's formulary rebates, which means get me on your formulary, I'll pay you a couple percentage points off AWP. There's market share rebates. As the market share of my drug increases over the others in my therapeutic category, I'll pay you even more rebates. There's data selling, so provide me data about my therapeutic category and I'll give you more money, meaning I'll give the PBM more money as the drug manufacturer. And now there's even human and clinical resources that drug manufacturers give PBMs. So there's actually nurses that sit in the PBM office space and they actually call members and make sure that they stay on that particular manufacturer's drugs. So again, just additional resources. How much of that does the actual plan sponsor actually receive? Well, in this particular case, and this was an old Medco case, I don't know if you were familiar with Medco, but I use this because Medco is no longer in business and therefore I don't get sued. So this Medco essentially would keep everything except the formulary rebates. So they passed on to the plan sponsor 2 to 3%, while they kept anywhere from 15 to 25%. In the last 10K that Medco filed, they had $65 billion worth of rebates, and they disclosed that $5 billion went back to their plan sponsors, and they were so proud of that. But where did the other $60 billion go? It went into Medco's profits. So if you look at the 10K of your publicly traded PBM, you will see that, how much of the rebates actually go back to plan sponsors. And you should talk to your publicly traded PBM about the publicly traded profits that they get. About rebates. So you can see I'm a little cynical about that. Okay, Susan, what does it matter? Who cares? I'm transparent, I'm pass-through, I'm this, I'm that. Who the heck cares, right? Well, it does. You should matter. It should matter to you. And as I get more into the specialty arena, you'll see why it should even matter more. So transparent pricing allows you greater freedom to implement whatever plan design you want to implement. So if you want step therapy on your proton pump inhibitors, which is for GERD, or if you want a step therapy on your heart medication or any other medications, if you're transparent, you can drive the car, so to speak, since we're here in Detroit. I'll use that analogy. If you are a traditional or you don't get a pass-through arrangement, in other words, your PBM is making spread, they're the ones that want to call the program, and you get to go in the back seat or maybe even the trunk, depending on how onerous the program is. So you really get no latitude on how to control your own plan design. For some funds, for some plan sponsors, this kind of hands-off approach is well taken because, my gosh, you have the medical plan to administer, you have the dental plan. When I was a benefit manager 25 years ago, I had healthcare, I had my own self-administered unit as a benefit manager, so we processed our own claims. I had life insurance, I had disability, I had the pension plan, and we actually had a pension plan then. And we had, a profit sharing plan. And I also did the Christmas party, okay? Really? I mean, all the things that a benefit manager has to do, I can understand that. So, I get up here and I talk to you about transparent and pass-through and all this stuff, and I realize you have more on your plates than I could ever realize in a day. So for some plans, this kind of hands-off approach is good, but if you really want to manage your benefit, you need to get into a transparent arrangement.